From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. Ooh, see, I have a problem with that. Why? Well, because if you think about it, from the river to the sea means wiping out the state of Israel. That's genocide. No, it's just a declaration for human rights made by people who don't have them. Even if that were true, wiping out the state of Israel doesn't necessarily entail killing anyone. It means dismantling the apartheid regime and the policies of the Israeli government. What you're doing is completely irresponsible right now because you are equating Judaism with Zionism. You are equating the apartheid policies of a militant ethno-state with Jewish people. That is completely ridiculous. Hang on, this is my favorite song. From sea to shining sea.
Señoría, le voy a pedir que respete a esta ministra y al gobierno.
We got a queen. Queen spotted. Your Honor, I'm going to ask you to respect this minister and the government of Spain, because it is beyond doubt that we and everyone here reject the violence against Israeli civilians. What is in doubt is whether the Popular Party is going to stop being complicit with the genocidal state of Israel. That is the only thing you need to clarify today. If you also reject the violence against Palestinian children, that is the answer we want from you. What we are seeing in Palestine that is being carried by the state of Israel is a genocide. It is ethnic cleansing. It is an attempt to exterminate an entire people. And this is happening in a context where the state of Israel has been for decades, illegally occupying lands that do not belong, stealing homes from Palestinians, harassing them, exercising daily violence against the Palestinian people, and also, and this is very serious, torturing detainees in Israeli prisons by the dozens. In this context, what we are seeing in these days is terrifying. Bombardments on the civilian population. Do you agree with the massive bombings? More Palestinian children have been killed in just 1 month than in all the wars in the entire world last year. Do you condemn those murders? That's what you have to explain today. This is not legitimate defense. The state of Israel has never ever recognized the state of Palestine. I don't think this situation is a laughing matter, honestly. Maybe you do not care about the thousands of Palestinian children killed, but there are people who do. I dare say that most Spaniards are people of peace. People of peace who want this genocide to end. It is simple what the government of Spain has to do. Let us break diplomatic relations for Israel once and for all.
Señoría, le voy a pedir que respete.
A clear sign outside of the U.S. Capitol of Congress's support for a clear sign outside of the U.S. Capitol of Congress's support for Israel on the 30-day anniversary of the October 7th attacks. And perhaps even clearer on the inside, where the House voted to censure the only Palestinian-American woman elected to Congress, Rashida Tlaib. The reason? She posted this to social media. Some Jewish groups said it was a call to wipe Israel off the map. She explained it was a call for Palestinians to have equal protection and freedom of movement.
But Palestinian people are not disposable.
In an emotional speech defending her calls for an immediate ceasefire.
The cries of the Palestinian and Israeli children sound no different to me. Why? What I don't understand is why the cries of Palestinians sound different to you all.
And while the Biden administration has called for humanitarian pauses and not a ceasefire, they are starting to push back publicly on Israel. On the possibility of Israel controlling the security in Gaza, a no.
The president maintains his position that a reoccupation by Israeli forces is not the right thing to do.
On reports that some want to push Palestinians into Egypt, another no.
We're not engaging in any situation in which Egyptian land would be leased. Forced relocation is not something that we are looking at or is on the table or a policy that we support.
But on Tuesday, the administration reiterated that they don't believe Israel is violating international law by bombing hospitals, UN-protected schools, and refugee camps. But the administration is facing growing political pressure at home.
I think there's been a lot of disappointment, particularly among young voters, but also, as you mentioned, Arab voters, Muslim voters, progressive voters, Black voters, of the handling of the situation. Many, according to polls, I think about 66% of Americans and 80% of Democrats have expressed support for a ceasefire.
All voters Biden knows he'll need if he is going to be reelected, and the polls show he could pay a heavy price for continued collusion with Israel. Patty Culhane, Al Jazeera, Washington.
Make sure
Let's
to subscribe
watch
to our
that speech by Rashida Tlaib. She was formally censured by the House.
I'm the only Palestinian American serving in Congress, Mr. Chair, and my perspective is needed here now more than ever. I will not be silenced, and I will not let you distort my words. Folks forget I'm from the city of Detroit, the most beautiful, blackest city in the country, where I learned to speak truth to power even if my voice shakes. Trying to bully or censor me won't work, because this movement for a ceasefire is much bigger than one person. It's growing every single day. There are millions of people across our country who oppose Netanyahu's extremism and are done watching our government support collective punishment and the use of white phosphorus bombs that melt flesh to the bone. They are done watching our government, Mr. Chair, supporting cutting off food, water, electricity, and medical care to millions of people with nowhere to go. Like me, Mr. Chair, they don't believe the answer to war crimes is more war crimes. The refusal of Congress and the administration to acknowledge Palestinian lives is chipping away at my soul. Over 10,000 Palestinians have been killed. Majority were children. But let me be clear. My criticism has always been of the Israeli government and Netanyahu's actions. It is important to separate people and governments, Mr. Chair. No government is beyond criticism. The idea that criticizing the government of Israel is anti-Semitic sets a very dangerous precedent, and it's being used to silence diverse voices speaking up for human rights across our nation. Do you realize what it's like, Mr. Chair, for the people outside the chamber right now, listening in agony to their own government dehumanizing them? To hear the President of the United States, we helped elect, dispute death tolls as we see video after video of dead children and parents under rubble. Mr. Chair, do you know what it's like to fear rising hate crimes, to know how Islamophobia and anti-Semitism makes us all less safe, and worry that your own child might suffer the horrors that 6-year-old Wadia did in Illinois? I can't believe I have to say this, but Palestinian people are not disposable. We are human beings, just like anyone else. My city, my grandmother, like all Palestinians, just wants to live her life with freedom and human dignity we all deserve. Speaking up to save lives, Mr. Chair, no matter faith, no matter ethnicity, should not be controversial in this chamber. The cries of the Palestinian and Israeli children sound no different to me. Why? What I don't understand is why the cries of Palestinians sound different to you all. We cannot lose our shared humanity, Mr. Chair. I hear the voices of advocates in Israel, in Palestine, across America, and around the world for peace. I am inspired by the courageous survivors in Israel who have lost loved ones, yet are calling for a ceasefire and the end to violence. I am grateful to the people in the streets for the peace movement, with countless Jewish Americans across the country standing up and lovingly saying, "Not in our name." We will continue to call for a ceasefire, Mr. Chair, for the immediate delivery of critical humanitarian aid to Gaza, for the release of all hostages and those arbitrarily detained, and for every American to come home. We will continue to work for a real lasting peace that upholds human rights and dignity of all people and centers in peaceful coexistence between Israelis and Palestinians, and censures no one, and ensures that no person, no child has to suffer or live in fear of violence. 71% of Michigan Democrats support a ceasefire. So you can try to censure me, but you can't silence their voices. I urge my colleagues to join with the majority of Americans and support a ceasefire now to save as many lives as possible. President Biden must listen to and represent all of us, not just some of us. I urge the president to have the courage to call for a ceasefire and the end of killings. Thank you, and I yield.
Now, as a fellow New Yorker.
Oh, this is the wrong one. This is when they removed Ilhan Omar from committees. Does anybody have Ilhan's speech? 22 Democrats vote to censure Tlaib over Israel criticism.
There are 234, and the nays are...
4 Republicans voted against.
On this vote, the yeas are...
All right, so let's see here. It seems that Florida has the most Democrats who voted for it. None of the reps in Pennsylvania voted for it. Let me see if there's any surprises on here. Hey, look, MGP. Maria Glusenkamp Perez. Hey, remember how I told you she fucking sucks? Can't wait for her to lose.
From Georgia. Reserves. Gentleman from Maryland is recognized.
I yield 30 seconds to the gentlelady from Minnesota, Ms. Omar.
Gentlelady is recognized for 30 seconds.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It is glaring hypocrisy when you have Republicans on the other side of the aisle trying to create definitions and say Rashida wants to annihilate people, when Max Miller himself went on TV and said we're turning Gaza into a parking lot and we want to annihilate Palestinians. Nobody condemned him on that side of the aisle. What is true here is that every single one of them has not acknowledged the fact that Palestinians are dying in the tens of thousands, but will continue to say it is us who are not acknowledging humanity. Rashida will stand strong.
Gentlelady's time has expired.
The movement will continue for liberation until every single Palestinian has the right to
Gentleman
live
from
in
Maryland
liberty.
is recognized.
We reserve.
Reserves, gentleman.